ready for some football. I don't know about you. Who else could it be but your man Lou? Yeah.
Who else could it be? Me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to Thursday Night Football Overtime. Cowboys, Titans. That'll be the last time I say that this season. That was the final Thursday night game of 2022. And that's usually an omen that the season is winding down. And I can't believe it. Cowboys win 12 games for the second consecutive season. First time they've done that since 94-95. They get the 27-13 win over the Titans, but in typical Cowboys fashion, it was not as easy as it should have been. This Cowboys team is talented enough to win the Super Bowl. I've talked about this already. The addition of T.Y. Hilton really gives them a full wide receiver room. It was comical when I was having my discussion about, trios in the NFC East that, Law, as the representative of the Dallas Cowboys, would even have a say in the matter. Like, you don't even have three receivers. T.Y. Hilton coming over gives them a credible third option. They did not even have a third option. And I don't want to hear about Noah Brown. So it was funny to even hear him laughing. And I was like, you must be laughing on behalf of Philadelphia because you don't even have a third receiver. But T.Y. Hilton's presence gives them a third option. Their offensive line had to be shuffled around with the injury to Tyler Biadasz tonight. So we'll see the severity of that. Obviously, he's not playing next week against Washington. And honestly, I don't know what they're going to do because Dak, banged his knee up tonight. I'm pretty sure he's fine. But, if there's any nicks, knacks, bruises, scratches, scrapes in a game that you don't need in Week 18, I don't see the purpose of playing your guys. We'll see what they decide to do. They don't have a first-round bye unless Philadelphia somehow loses to the Saints. They're going to beat the Saints this weekend, or the Eagles wrap up the number one seed and the NFC East in one fell swoop. And in doing so, it renders Dallas's Week 18 game meaningless. Now, there were two things I'm watching as a Washington Commanders fan, knowing that the Cowboys are our next opponent, and I'm thinking to myself, if we take care of business and we have to do that first. 18 doesn't matter if 17 isn't a dub. If we don't put 17 in the left-hand column, 18 is rendered, essentially irrelevant. However, if we do take care of business in 17 and you look at it Week 18 against Dallas, first thing I thought was Dak just injured his knee, not putting him out there if I'm Dallas. Give him all the time he needs to rest up. You're not going to have – this isn't a situation like with Philadelphia where it's a little dangerous to not play your starters for 3 weeks, because that's what essentially would happen. If you wrap up the division in Week 17, if you're Philadelphia, you don't play your starters in Week 18, you have a first-round bye, your starters would not have gotten any work in 3 weeks. That's how you get bounced from the playoffs in the divisional round in your first action. That's how you get bounced. So you would want to play your guys at a bare minimum a half of football just to get them some reps. Whereas with Dallas, that's not necessarily the case. I mean, it's not the case, because if you don't play them in Week 18, first of all, you play on Thursday, so you get a 10-day layoff here before your Week 18 contest. So that's number one. But you probably want to get your guys some work. And now with the injury to Biadasz, you're shuffling around the line. And maybe the shuffling of the line only took place because of who was active tonight. And maybe you have an entire week to prepare. You move Tyler Smith back out to left tackle. You slide back over McGovern to guard, and you go with it. Or I don't know, maybe you just leave it the way it is. I don't know. I don't know what the decision is. Maybe they do exactly what they did tonight. Put Peters at left tackle, slide Smith inside the guard, keep McGovern at center. I don't know if you want to move around all of these different pieces because of one injury, right? But if that's what they have to do, if that's going to be the new 5 for the postseason, because I can tell you right now, whether it's an ankle sprain, a fractured ankle, it's not a torn ACL or anything like that, because he came back on the sidelines and had a walking boot on. So it's an ankle injury. How severe is it? It doesn't matter. It could be a grade 1 sprain, he's going to be out for at least 2 weeks, bare minimum. Okay. So if that's going to be the case, don't you want to get these guys some work in live action? Don't you want to play them against Washington, get them some work, even if it's only for a half? Don't you want to get them some continuity going into the postseason, knowing that they're going to have to play in that first game, probably at Tampa, more likely than not. Maybe it's at Carolina. Whatever the case may be, I surmise that Dallas is going to play their starters and try and win in Week 18. I don't think Washington is going to get a compromised Cowboys team, even though I saw some things tonight from some guys getting banged up where it may, force Dallas to say, you know what, it's not worth it. But I with 10 days off, right, because this was a Thursday night game and you get all this extra rest, I think they're not going to have anything to play for. They're locked into the 5 seed. The Eagles are not going to lose out. Okay, so they're locked into the 5 seed. It'll be interesting to see what the Cowboys decide to do. But tonight, as for tonight's game, this is the problem with Dallas, which is why I don't see them advancing as far as they probably should in the postseason. Now, honestly, if I'm Dallas, I don't want the 1 seed. I want to be right where I am. Yep, playing at home would be great. You're going to get the winner of the NFC South, whether that's Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And stop thinking about Tom Brady in yesteryear, the Tom Brady 2 years ago that led the Buccaneers to the Super Bowl. Stop thinking about Tom Brady from New England. This Tom Brady, this Buccaneers team, they stink. Okay? They absolutely suck ass. So either you're getting, I honestly would rather play them than Carolina, because at least Carolina has established an identity. Tampa Bay doesn't even know who the hell they are. Carolina's going to run the football. They're going to protect their quarterback. They're going to play sound defense, and that's what you're going to get out of the Panthers. Okay? If I'm Dallas, I'd much rather take my shot at Tampa Bay because they don't score. Their defense is okay, but it's not great. I'd much rather take my chances with the Buccaneers. You can easily say, it's Tom Brady. Knock yourself out. We've been waiting for Tom Brady. We've been waiting for the Buccaneers to flip the switch. They're not going to do it. So they're in a great spot. They're going to win a playoff game this year. And once you win one and you gain confidence, all bets are off. That's all it takes a lot of times is to just win one. They're going to win. Staying at the 5 seed ensures you that you will win a playoff game. Now, with that said, the shit that they do could get them beat in wild card weekend against Tampa Bay and or Carolina, right? Because we've talked about this, and people laughed at me when I said on the podcast yesterday that Dak Prescott, and I predicted Dallas would win this game. I didn't even know Joshua Dobbs was on the Titans roster, right? Apparently, he just got there like 4 or 5 days ago. They were trying to pull a Baker Mayfield. It didn't work, clearly. But I said this on the podcast. Dak Prescott is the new Taylor Heineke in the sense that he's going to turn it over at least once, probably more likely than not twice in a game. Like, this has become ritual. This has become habit for him. Now, the first interception wasn't his fault. Peyton Hendershot has to catch the damn football. He's juggling the shit around like a clown, and it gets picked off. But the second one, that was all on Dak. He was lucky it wasn't taken to the crib for a pick six. It would have changed the whole complexion of the game. Then it would have been 10-10 at the halftime break. And all of a sudden, the Titans are like, why can't we steal this? But he had 3 turnovers and the fumble in the first half. That's the problem right there. That's the Achilles heel of this Cowboys football team, is that they allow teams, and this is the thing, they're allowing bad teams to hang around. What happens when you're playing good teams and you're turning the football over? That's how they almost lost to Gardner Minshew. They were playing a good team, and they turned the shit over early, and they found themselves in a hole. You're not going to dig yourself up out of holes. You're not going to be able to beat teams and overcome 2 and 3 turnovers against San Francisco, against Minnesota. And even though they destroyed the Vikings, I guarantee you if they play Minnesota again, they may beat them. It won't be 40-3. I assure you of that. Okay. You start making mistakes against lesser teams, you give them hope. You start making mistakes against better teams, you lose football games. So this is a thing. This is not a trend. This is not oh man, it's a one. No, this is a thing. This is a Dak Prescott thing. He's going to turn it over, and he did it again tonight. You start playing better teams, those turnovers become insurmountable, right? You start finding yourself in a hole that you can't dig yourself up out of. And their defense is good. It's not great. Their defense is not great. And I think you can do something. I mean, you saw what Eagles did with Gardner Minshew. Again, the Eagles, they're in a separate category because their offense is legit. It's well run. It's a well-oiled machine. But what I'm telling you is when you get to the playoffs, most teams' offenses are well-oiled machines. You're no longer playing Indianapolis. You're no longer playing Houston. You're no longer playing Tennessee. You're now playing San Francisco. You're now playing Minnesota. You're now playing Philadelphia. You're now playing better football teams with better offenses. That if you make the kind of mistakes that Dallas is prone to making every single week, hell, their punt returner almost fumbled another damn punt. He fumbled one against Houston that gave them a chance to stay in that game. He almost fumbled another one tonight. For as dangerous as he is, he's got a problem holding on to the damn ball as well. So I worry about them protecting the football. But they've got the weapons to outscore anybody. Their defense creates turnovers. You saw them do it again tonight. You live by the turnover, you die by the turnover. They're feast or famine. When you're that aggressive attacking the football, teams take advantage of it. That's what happened against the Eagles last week. You want to try to jump this route? Well, everybody knows Trayvon Diggs is a sucker for a double move. He's never seen a double move he ain't like, and he ain't bite. Everybody knows. So if you can protect long enough, you can take shots at him. He's a mark. I see 7 coming, and I'm smiling if I'm an offensive coordinator because I'm like, hey, we're going to get one on him today. At least one. You choose where you want it. Indianapolis saved theirs for the red zone. Got an easy touchdown. The Eagles were just doing whatever the hell they wanted to do, wherever they were on the field. He's a mark because he's always looking to make a play. You got to use that against him. So while they can get after the quarterback, if you protect up front, you can move the football on these boys. And I still believe you can run the football on this Dallas defense as well. They've been better of late stopping the run, but I still think if you make a concerted effort to run on these boys, I think you can run the football on them still. But they've been a lot better in that department. Probably since about week 12, 13, somewhere in there. Feel like they've made a concerted effort to clean up their run defense. They've been a lot better, but I still think you can run the football on them personally. So for all the mistakes they made tonight, they took care of business, which is what they normally do. Didn't do it against Jacksonville. Almost didn't do it against Houston. But they did what I expected them to do. And they took care of business. Dax, I thought he bounced back in that second half. That throw to Dalton Schultz in the end zone, chef's kiss. That's just as good as it gets. Put that thing on the top shelf where that safety just couldn't go up and get it. But the Titans also bailed them out with a ton of penalties. You know, you're not going to beat anybody with the amount of penalties that the Titans had for the amount of yardage. You know, it's you can have 8 penalties and have it be for 7 yards. It's when you got 8 penalties and it tallies 115 yards. That's when you get yourself into trouble. The Titans were at one point it was 8 for 115. I don't know how many more they accumulated after that, but Cowboys took advantage of those mistakes. CeeDee Lamb went over 100 tonight. They had some success, a semblance of it in the run game, but I've been a staunch proponent of Zeke is solid. He's not a game changer anymore. He's not a needle mover. Zeke inside the red zone, Zeke inside the 5, still a problem to deal with. Zeke outside of the red zone, Zeke outside of the 5-yard line, Zeke outside of 3rd or 4th and 1, I don't give a shit. Titans shut his ass down tonight. Their rookie running back, Davis, actually looked way better. Again, I don't need to have this discussion with you. Guys know how I feel about Zeke and Pollard and that entire group. Zeke is the elder statesman, but as I've told you once before, the running back position is no country for old men, and Zeke is old. He looks old, and the Titans made him seem old again tonight. If the Dallas Cowboys can cut out the turnovers, I think they are a dangerous team, because special teams, really solid, really good field goal kicker, dangerous kick returner, punt returner, and Turpin, so that they can impact the game there, right? Defense, they can get after your quarterback. They're doing a better job stopping the run, although I think you can still run on them, but they're doing a much better job against the run. It is not a glaring problem like it was earlier in the season. They get you in 3rd and long, and then it gets really, dicey. They're getting some good contributions from the secondary. Donovan Smith is playing well. Deron Bland is playing well. They're getting some good play out of those guys on the back end, and then getting takeaways. Obviously, lead the league in takeaways. And then offensively, they've got weapons, and the offensive line has stepped up. They're protecting Dak better. Pollard, when healthy, problem. CeeDee Lamb, problem. Dalton Schultz, problem. T.Y. Hilton, problem. And the thing with T.Y. was never a question of talent. It was, could Eugene stay healthy? Well, the beauty of what they've done is they essentially allowed Eugene to sit at home for 15 weeks and called him up in week 16, and now you're getting a fully healthy, ready to go, locked and loaded Eugene Hilton. And so if you get T.Y., which is when he's healthy, he's T.Y., we got a baller, When he's banged up, he's Eugene. So he can still offer something to these Cowboys, and you've seen it over the last 2 weeks. So he adds something to that offense. So they've got the weapons, but can't turn it over. Dak's a walking turnover. Let's see how many interceptions he's thrown. It's got to be a career high for him this year. He came in to the game, I think, with 12 interceptions on the season. Let's see if they include it. Nope. He came into the game with 10. Let me double check that. 1, 2, 4, 6, 7, 9, 11, 12. No, he came into the game with 12. So he's got 14 interceptions now on the season. That's got to be damn near at the top of the league. 12 was tied for 27th. 14 has to put him somewhere in that, 12, 11, 10 range in the league in interceptions. I'm about to find out now. I'm curious. Hey, Google, who leads the NFL in interceptions this year?
On the website sports.wk17.com, they say, keeping track of the NFL interception leaders for 2022. C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Todd Fuller lead the league after week 16.
I didn't want to know who had the most interceptions. I want to know who has thrown. I got to be so specific with her. Golly. I'll just look it up myself. Who has thrown? That's what I should have said. Who has thrown the most interceptions in 2022? That's what I should have said. StatMuse would have pulled it up just like that. Derek Carr and Dak Prescott lead the league with 14. So there you have it. He's now in a tie for first place in interceptions this year. And with Derek no longer playing for the remainder of the year, he may take sole possession next week if he plays against Washington with the way he's been going. The man has thrown an interception now, and the man has thrown an interception in how many straight games now? Man has thrown an interception in 6 straight games, right? He's thrown an interception in, you remember, he was hurt for 5 games this year, right? So he's played in 11. The man's played in 11 games this year, thrown 14 picks. In the 11 games, he's thrown an interception in 8 of them. 9. Excuse me. He's only had 2 games this season where he hasn't thrown a pick. Just 2. And of the 9 games he's thrown a pick, 5. He's thrown multiple picks in 5 of them, including 3 of the last 4 games. He's had 2 interceptions in each of them. So I'm not bullshitting you when I tell you Dak is turning the bitch over, and he's fumbling too. Okay, he fumbled tonight, which was a snap, but whatever. He's turning the shit over. Okay, that's going to be something to keep an eye on. Is the amount of turnovers, because eventually that shit's going to bite you in the ass. As for the Tennessee Titans, their season is done. I will say this: Joshua Dobbs gives them a much better opportunity to win next week. Malik Willis, not ready. Simply not ready to help an NFL team win a game. I mean, I'm shocked that he even has won a start. He did against the Texans earlier this season, 17-10. Almost pulled one off. It's crazy because he almost pulled one off against the Chiefs on a Sunday night. You remember that was a game Tannehill didn't play. They led most of that game and they blew it at the end. But he's been terrible this season as Malik Willis. Again, I don't know what the future holds for him in the league. I wasn't a fan of his coming out of forgot what school he went to. Wasn't a fan of his. It was Liberty. Wasn't a fan of his coming out of Liberty. Super talented, really raw, but I didn't love what he was bringing to the table. Haven't seen anything to change my mind this year. Again, no one thought he was ready when he came to the league. He was never supposed to set foot on the field this year, in a starting capacity at least. But obviously that's what's happened. He clearly was not ready. And, you give him some time and maybe he'll be a prolific NFL quarterback. But that's not the case now. So Dobbs comes in and gives them an opportunity. And with a full week under his belt, getting Derrick Henry back next week, they'll have a fighting chance on the road at Jacksonville. I just think the Jaguars are the better team right now. But that doesn't always mean, you're going to win because you're the better team. So we could very well see the Jacksonville or the Tennessee Titans hosting a home playoff game with Joshua Dobbs at quarterback on, January 14th at 4:30, because whomever wins the AFC South always hosts the first playoff game to kick off Wild Card Weekend, because that's the game that's going to be the lowest rated, and the NFL knows it, and so they always put that game on first. Either way, it's going to be a team in whom we much rather watch Jacksonville, but we'll see what happens with this Titans team. Mike Vrabel, I've said this a million times, which is why earlier this season I was like, this man deserves votes for head coach of the year, because what he's had to endure over his span. They showed the graphic tonight. They gave us the stats of how many guys he's cycled through, how many players have hit the injury list, how many guys he had to bring up from the practice squad, how many players he's had to, play. I think they played over 90 some odd players last year. And the next closest team was like in the, high 70s, low 80s. Like it wasn't even close how many players he played to the next team who had to play a ton of players. It's insane what he's had to deal with. And yet this team is usually, not every week, but usually competitive. They were competitive tonight. They were in this ball game. At one point, it's 17-13. But it's Joshua Dobbs, man. You're running the ball with Hassan Haskins and, Chestnut. Like, what are we talking about here? I mean, you throw the football to Robert Woods, who all of a sudden acted as if he couldn't catch or stay on his feet, falling down, doing all kinds of stupid shit. Westbrook Akine and Racy McRath. I mean, these are the guys he's throwing the football to. I mean, at times I ask myself, why did you fire John Robinson, right? Why is John Robinson no longer there? When he was fired, you were 3 games up in the division. You were 7-5, and you were well on your way to winning the division for the 3rd consecutive year. But then when I look at the guys that are on this team offensively, I say, yeah, John Robinson should be held responsible for this shit. This is a travesty. What the Titans have offensively is a joke. It's a farce. So, yeah, somebody needs to be held accountable for that. Anyway, we'll see. That game's going to be flex. I already told you guys what's going to happen. Jags and Titans, because no matter what happens with the Jaguars, they can't clinch. That game is going to be for the division next week. That's going to be the game that they flex to NBC Sunday Night Football. Winner takes all. And so I stand corrected. Hold on, because Bengals and Ravens could be for the division as well, depending on what happens with those 2 teams this week, because the Ravens have already beaten Cincinnati. They're 1 game back. If Cincinnati doesn't beat Buffalo, then they would go in and Baltimore somehow beats Pittsburgh. They go into that final game tied, and the winner would. Now, the difference between Jacksonville and Tennessee is the loser goes home. In the Baltimore-Cincinnati case, both teams are going to the playoffs. Just someone's going to be hosting a playoff game, and the other team's going to be on the road. We would much rather watch Cincinnati-Baltimore, but I have a feeling that we're probably going to end up getting Jags and Titans. But we'll see. They may have some mercy on us. They should bless us, because we had to endure like 4 Indianapolis Colts primetime games this season. We had to watch Denver like 7 times on TV. When you throw in like London and the Saturday game that they just put us through when they got their doors blown off and they just fired Nathaniel Hackett. And then you throw in all of the primetime. We had to watch them 4 times in the first 6 weeks of the season. We should be blessed in week 18 with Bengals and Ravens and not Jags Titans. But those teams have to make it so that that game is for the division, or else we will be saddled with Jags Titans. But let's pray that the Jaguars win that division and we don't have to endure Tennessee in the playoffs, because that's a bad roster offensively. And it's a well-coached team, even though they had a ton of penalties tonight. There are players on that team that I absolutely love. I wanted Roger McQuarrie out of Auburn. I love him. And I know he got hit up tonight in the penalty department. Give me Roger McQuarrie. He's got a short memory, physical guy, feisty as hell. I'll take him 10 times out of 10 on my team. And I haven't seen anything in the league to change my mind about him. Love me some Kevin Byard. Washington fans love to talk about Cam Curl. Make a play. I still don't think Cam Curl has an interception this year. Make a play. This guy is getting 5-6 picks every year. Go make a play, right? Love Kevin Byard. We know what Jeffrey Simmons is. Tyre Tart is a player, man. He's turned into a real force inside for them. They got some stuff on that defense. And I wouldn't mind taking 1 or 2 of their linebackers either. David Long Jr., who I really liked out of West Virginia, has turned into a good player for them. I'll take Monty Rice out of Georgia over anything that I have not named Jamin Davis and Cole Holcomb. I'll take Monty Rice on my team. Hell, I'd even take the white guy I saw tonight. Shit, he'd be an upgrade over David Mayo and John Bostic. So, they got stuff on their defense. I don't want anything off their offense. Not named Derek. I don't want anything other than Derek Henry. I don't want you keep everything you got. Want nothing else. So I hope they spare us and just allow Jacksonville in. Like I said, I don't want New England in my playoffs. I don't want Tennessee in my playoffs. Don't allow Funk to infiltrate my playoffs because I think we've got a chance to have a really good 14-team pool if everything goes the way that it's supposed to go. We got a chance to really have some intriguing shit happen. You let New England in, that's an ass whooping. Okay, somebody's gonna cut their ass. As my grandma used to say, I'm gonna cut your ass. Someone's gonna cut New England's ass. They get in and they're getting a mud hole stomped in them by somebody. Who will be the 2 seed? So whether it's Kansas City or it's Buffalo or it's Cincinnati, someone's going to destroy the New England Patriots come playoff time. Don't let them in. All right. But do you want to see a Teddy Bridgewater-led Miami Dolphins team? No, we don't. Right? Like, it gets a little dicey in the 7 seed over there on that side of the bracket. Because some funk, man. I don't know if it's avoidable. Hell, I even saw that the Steelers are available and still eligible to make the playoffs. So, like, what are we talking about here? What are we doing right now? Shit's wacky, man. But we'll see what happens. Anyway, I digress. Cowboys are now 12-4. The NFC is going to be fun. The playoffs in the NFC are going to be fun because we don't know what's going to occur. What makes me sick to my stomach is that 2 of the teams with the best chance to win and represent the NFC in the Super Bowl are in the NFC East, and neither one of them are named the Commanders. That shit scares me that we could have an NFC championship game that features Philadelphia and Dallas playing one another. That is very, very plausible. And with Dallas being in the 5 hole, they're going to avoid Philadelphia all the way until the championship game. Because unless the 6 and the 7 seed both lose in wild card weekend, which I don't think is going to occur. Somebody's getting upset in wild card weekend from a seeding standpoint. Probably not going to be San Francisco, but it could be San Francisco. It could be the 49ers. I think it's the Vikings. That's who I've circled on the calendar the entire time. No one's going to look at the 4-5 as an upset because that 4th seed sucks. Similar to 2020 when the Commanders, or then the Washington football team, was the 4 seed and Tampa Bay went in there. No one was expecting the football team to beat the Buccaneers in 2020. That wasn't an upset. Seed-wise it was, but nobody recognized Washington as the better team in that game. Same way it's going to be when it's Tampa Bay or Carolina, wearing that 4 seed on their chest. So they're going to get knocked off, but 6 or 7 in the NFC is going to win. One of the 2, if not both. Somebody's going to beat Minnesota or someone's going to beat San Francisco. Somebody's going to lose, and Philadelphia is going to get that team instead of Dallas in the second round. If the football gods, if my Commanders aren't in the playoffs, then the football gods should bless me and make sure that Dallas and Philadelphia meet in the second round if they have to meet. If Dallas can lose like they usually do in the first round, I'm for that. Sign me up. But I just need to make sure one of those bastards isn't in the championship game. Can't have both of them because then there's no winning. There's no rooting interest. Somebody's going to the Super Bowl. I'd much rather have it where one of these chumps is eliminated before we get to the NFC championship game. I prefer that both of them be gone. It'd be nice if somehow Tom Brady and the Buccaneers were able to strap it up one more time and knock off the Cowboys, because Dak's going to turn the shit over twice. If you're Tampa and you can take advantage of that, you'll have a shot. But the likelihood is the Cowboys are going to win a playoff game. And if the 6 and 7 seeds are knocked off, then Philadelphia gets the lowest remaining seed, which would be Dallas at 5. If Dallas wins, but one of the 6 or the 7 seed wins, Philadelphia will get them in the second round coming off the bye. So a lot of different moving parts. We're not even there yet. We'll see what happens once we get to the postseason. But just me thinking ahead and not wanting to see any of these bastards win anything of note in this division. But we shall see. Cowboys are 12-4 and winners of 12 games, as I said at the top of the show, for the first time in consecutive years since 94-95. So I still want to know, is Mike McCarthy coaching for his job? If the Cowboys get bounced in the first round, is he done? Because he's done something that no other coach has done pretty much since Jimmy Johnson, Barry Switzer era, was a thing. Like, no other coach, including Bill Parcells, won 12 games or more 2 years in a row. So is he fired if he doesn't win a playoff game this year? If you're a Cowboys fan out there and you have the answer to that, I'd love to hear from you. Anyway, I digress. Let's see what you guys have to say. If you're out there and you have something to say, by all means, please use the hashtag LouieTLive to have your comment read on the air. If it is pertinent, we will get to it if time permits. If you want to ensure that your comment is read, however, the best way to do this is to super chat. Okay? That jumps you straight to the front of the line, and it ensures that your comment gets read. Time is not a factor. So, with that said, let's get to the comment section. And we start off with Spankin' Brown Cheekies. Man, that is so refreshing to see my guy Luck. And shout out to Condo P for making sure that we were all in the know. She let me know that you were okay, which I told her that was the best news of the day because I didn't know anything was wrong until last night. So good to hear that you're better now. You're feeling better at least. Everything went well, and you're back here blending in like a chameleon. Just so you know, I charged a couple of comments to your account last night. That's just the price of doing business, Luck. You know how it goes. But anyway, good to have you back, man. A wise woman once told me, I'd much rather deal with the devil I know than the devil I don't know. It's good to know you're in the comment section so I can be on high alert. Last night, I wasn't sure. So everybody was a suspect. Everybody's always a suspect. But at least I know you're here. And that brings a smile to my heart, man. So smile to my face, and it warms my heart to know you're okay. Says, thank you for being a member of the MOBB as well. Appreciate you, Lou. I'm back in action, so make sure you're on your toes. I wouldn't have it any other way. Working on making the game Sunday. Let's bring home this dub. That would be massive. That dub is mandatory. I would hate for us to have come this far and lose to a 6-9 Cleveland Browns team at home to have our season end that way. Look, if we lose to Dallas next week, they play their starters and we don't get it done, so be it. It is what it is. It sucked because you're losing to your most hated rival, but they're a 12-win team that is capable of winning the Super Bowl. You can stomach that. It'll leave a terrible taste in your mouth, but at least you can say they were better than us. You lose to a 6-9 Browns team, and that wouldn't sit well with me at all. At all. Video channel. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Video channel, right? Sup, Lou? What's up, video channel? Missed the stream last night, caught it on replay. Also, thoughts on Josh Dobbs' performance tonight. I actually thought he was solid, man. I thought he gave them a chance. I mean, for a guy that just got there this week and really didn't have a full grasp of the playbook, he's out there setting protections and killing plays. We know he's a super smart dude. You know, we knew that coming out of college at Tennessee. We knew about his major. We knew about the grade point average, all of that good stuff. So we know he can retain information. He showed that tonight. I actually didn't think he threw the ball all that bad. You know, I thought he gave his guys opportunities. For the most part, he kept the ball out of harm's way. Did throw the interception late in the ball game, but I actually thought he wasn't half bad. Like, that's why they'll have a chance next week. You know, watching Malik Willis, they had no chance next week, right? But watching Josh Dobbs, you know, run the offense tonight, they will have a fighting chance next week to win the division and host a playoff game. If he plays the way he played tonight, they'll have a chance next week to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars on the road. All right. See if we got another one. Yeah, we do have another one here. Vincent Coe, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Vincent Coe, thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Writes, Lou, bro, I subbed to you 9 years ago on the Seahawks 2013 wrap-up series with your legendary pointer and whiteboard. Oh, the memories. You're taking me back there, man. Yeah, it's been a while. I was talking to somebody the other day, and I said, it's been a decade. I've been doing this for a decade, man. Doesn't feel like it at times. Then other times it does feel like it. Wow, 9 years. He said, showing love and looking forward to more great content from you in the future. I really appreciate you, Vincent Coe, man. We've had a long run, man, and I look forward to many, many more years of chopping it up with you in the future. Really do appreciate you. Let's see. Okay, that looks like the final super that we have. So we'll get to the comment section now and some of these hashtags. Derek B writes, Vrabel is elite. He can take his and beat yours, then take yours and beat his. Lou, you need to show some respect to any team he puts on the field. And I'm doing that, which is why I said they will have a fighting chance next week on the road at Jacksonville. I still don't like their chances to win that ball game, but they're going to have a chance to win that football game because Mike Vrabel is capable of taking, as you mentioned, whatever you give him, whatever hand he's dealt. You could deal Mike Vrabel no spades, a bunch of clubs, and 2 hearts and 2 diamonds, right? But no spades. Somehow Mike Vrabel is going to turn that hand and make the clubs the trump card somehow, some way. And he's going to end up with 4 books. And you're like, bro, what the F? That's Mike Vrabel, man. He just finds a way. You say, hey, man, I got 3 in a possible. Mike Vrabel's going to get you that possible. I just don't know if he's got enough. I don't think he's got enough talent, man. I just don't think he's got enough talent, but he's going to give it a run. Derek B writes, let the Cowgirls have something to play for week 18. I'm not scared of them. F them. Yeah, I'm not on my bravado shit right now. I just want in the playoffs. I told you this already. At this point now, I'm keep sweating over here, man. I'm begging. You know, I would much prefer them to say, yeah, Dak tweaked his knee. You know, Biotish getting injured, us reshuffling the deck on the offensive line. We prefer to not put Dak behind that offensive line, you know, with Washington's front. Yeah, we're just going to go ahead and you know, right. We can't get to the 1 seed. We're locked into the 5. Let's go ahead and shut it down. See y'all in Tampa Bay in a week from now. I'd love nothing more than that to be the case. And then if you get beat by Cooper Rush, now we can go get the pitchforks and torches. But I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think they're going to play their guys next week. Now, are they going to play them for 4 quarters? I don't know. At this point, I don't even care. I am going to first we have to beat Cleveland. I don't want to even talk about Dallas next week, because if we don't beat Cleveland, that game is rendered useless for us. Doesn't matter. And I'm not really in the mindset of playing a useless. We haven't played one useless game this season. Every game to this point has mattered. I'd like it to stay that way. I'd like to play 18, possibly 19, maybe upwards of 20 games, but let's play 17 first that matter, and then an 18th, and then maybe a 19th. Let's just make 17 of them count. Can't get to 17 counting unless 16 is a winner. So we'll see what happens. And if we get to the point where 18 matters for us, whether they play their guys or not, we need it anyway. What better way than to actually be the Dallas team that was trying? Because if we beat them and they rest their guys, or they only play them for a quarter or a half, then Cowboys fans are going to be like, well, we didn't need it. Which I don't give a shit. Need it or not need it. If we need it, I need it. So we'll see what happens. I much prefer them to rest their guys, though. just so you know where I'm coming from. I'm not on my bravado shit. I'm on my, hey, can I get in the playoff shit? By any means necessary. I'm on some Malcolm X right now. Jay Black, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Jay writes, don't want this to happen, but if we lose to the Browns, do you start Sam in the Cowboys game to see what he has? It all depends, right? Because if everybody loses, you still can get in the playoffs, right? All we need, the only way we're eliminated, even if we lose, the only way we're eliminated is if Green Bay and Detroit win. If one of those two teams loses, even if Seattle wins, if Seattle then loses next week and we win next week, we're in. As long as we all finish, because again, we have that tie. So again, I repeat to you, as long as we have the same amount of wins, we can't have the same amount of losses because we have a tie. So what I'm telling you is Seattle right now is 7-8. So is Green Bay. So is Detroit. If one of the two teams, Detroit or Green Bay, lose next week and they fall to 7-9, and Seattle wins next week and they go to 8-8, we'll drop to 7-8-1 with a loss, but a win the following week gets us to 8-8-1. Even if Seattle loses, right, they'll be 8-9. We're better than them record-wise, 8-8-1. If Green Bay, let's say Green Bay loses to Minnesota, because of the two teams, they're the most likely to lose in week 17. If one of those two teams is going to lose, it'll be Green Bay. Because I don't see Chicago, even though they're capable, it's family business, I don't see Chicago going to Detroit and winning. So let's say Green Bay loses, they drop to 7-9. But Detroit wins, they get to 8-8. If Green Bay beats Detroit the following week, both of those teams are 8-9. Seattle loses, and they're 8-9 to the Rams. They're 8-9, and we win against Dallas. We're 8-1. So you can't play Sam Howell in a position where you still can make the playoffs. But if you lose to Cleveland and Green Bay and Detroit win, now you're eliminated. Yeah, then you should play Sam Howell. What's the point of, unless you're more concerned with Carson Wentz, which that game isn't going to prove anything. Right? You would, and again, playing Sam Howell for one game, what does that do? Right? It's one game. It's as small of a sample size as you can get. He plays well. What did he do? Who cares? great. He played well. He could play an excellent game in week 18. 24 of 30, 33 for 362 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, ran 6 times for 42 yards, and we scored 34 points. We're going home, and next year he could stink it up. So, I mean, it'd be cool. It would appease fans, but at that point, I wouldn't give 2 shits about who played in that final game. I'd be so distraught over that game not meaning anything. I'd give a shit who played. Taylor Heineke, Carson Wentz, Sam Howell. I could give 2 shits about who played that game, who started that game. If it's not meaningful, I wouldn't care, to be honest with you. Let's see. Vincent Cole, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. My guy, Vincent Cole writes, I know you don't give out strikeout grades for draft prospects, but are there any players you saw teams drafted and really wanted to give that grade? There were plenty of guys that I saw teams draft and I said, this guy stinks. Now, and it doesn't always work out that way. Some of the guys that I gave singles to, and it's usually 6th and 7th round picks, right? So usually 7th rounders. It's rarely a guy in the 4th or 3rd round that I'm giving a single to. There's a lot of things that have to kind of happen. It's got to be a confluence of things where you reach for this guy, he's not as talented, got some issues, or they're just red flags all over the place. But yet generally it's a guy 7th round, you're taking a flyer on, and you're like, I just don't see it. But there have been plenty of guys where I said, there's no way he's going to play in the league. None. And I'm pretty sure some of those guys have actually panned out, had a career, but more times than not, those guys didn't make it in the league. And it wasn't often. It wasn't a lot, but yeah, there've been guys for sure that I felt that way about. Anyway, I digress. Ree says, hope you had a Merry Christmas. I did. Likewise, Ree. Mine could have been better. We still going to have that DM conversation? Yes, we are. I have not forgotten about you, my man. We are definitely going to have that conversation. Question for you. Did you get a gig yet? You can either DM me the answer. You can put it in the comment section, whatever the case may be. I'd love to know the answer to that. Reese says Mike McCarthy looks like he always tells his wife he's on a diet, yet his house is riddled with secret compartments of junk food. Reese says Josh Dobbs looks 12 years old, like they pulled him out of the womb pregame. Josh Dobbs is a funny looking. I'll just leave it at that. Beast Mode says, looks like the Dallas game will be for Washington's playoff life. Again, you're already fast forwarding to next week when there's a game right in front of us that could prohibit that game from meaning anything. So I can't co-sign that. I don't deserve this. We had this conversation already. I told you had to get my name right. So I'm not going to read that one. Niners fan writes, Lou, you think we can beat Philly? I saw a video of Javon Kinlaw back and taking up a huge gap in the run game against Washington and says that's exactly what we need against Philly's big line. Of course you can beat Philadelphia. Anybody can beat Philadelphia. It's not going to be easy. You're going to have to play a really good game, but anybody can beat Philadelphia in the NFC. Again, this is what I've been trying to explain to people before the season started. I predicted that the NFC East would be one of the best divisions in football. Why? Because you're playing bad football teams, and this division was going to take advantage of the AFC South, which they did. The entire division only lost 2 games out of a possible 16 games. The NFC East went 14-2 against the AFC South. Okay, so we cleaned up essentially against that division. Also playing the NFC North, another lousy division. The NFC East cleaned up again. Let's see how many teams lost. Yeah, so the Vikings beat Washington and the Giants. Green Bay, I don't think beat anybody. Green Bay beat Dallas. All right. Detroit beat Washington. And did they beat the Giants too? And they beat the Giants, right? Chicago didn't beat anybody in our division. I'm just making sure. Yeah, Chicago didn't beat anybody in the division. So out of a possible 16 games, the NFC East went 11-5 against the NFC North and 14-2 against the AFC South. That's 25-6. No, that can't be it. 25, 14, 11. Said they won 11, so that's 5. And it was 4. It's got to be an even amount of games. It's got to be 32. That number has to equal up to 32. So it's got to be 25-7. 25-7 against those two divisions. The bulk of the wins in the division came from those two. And then you beat up on the teams in the division. You know, 2 of Philadelphia's losses, they only have 2 losses on the season, both in the division. Dallas has 4 losses on the season. 1 has come in the division, right? They lost to Philadelphia. That's it. They lost to Tampa Bay. They lost to Green Bay. And they lost to Jacksonville as the other 3. So what I'm essentially telling you is I'm not looking to demean what anybody's done this season in the division. But what I'm essentially trying to explain to you and convey to you is that Philadelphia really isn't battle tested. They really aren't battle tested. Iron sharpens iron, which is what I'm trying to get this division to be eventually. But Philadelphia isn't battle tested. So I think when they play better competition, they could get knocked off. I truly feel that way. There's a reason why Philadelphia has been one of the best teams all season long. And when you look at these different power rankings or the Vegas odds to win the Super Bowl, they're not at the top because people think there are other teams in the league that are better than them, that are better equipped to make a run in the postseason. Everybody may be wrong, and the Eagles may be ultimately the best team, have been all year long, and ultimately are the best team in football and win it all and laugh in everybody's face. That is a very distinct possibility that takes place. However, what's also a very distinct possibility that could take place is that they could lose their very first game in the playoffs. They run into the wrong team, they turn it over, they don't have their best game, and boom, just like that. Understand that this isn't baseball, this isn't basketball. Hell, and even hockey, even though hockey is crazy because 8 seeds beat 1 seeds all the time. But this isn't baseball or basketball where the best team usually wins because it's a series. All you got to do is show up and not have your best stuff one time. And it's over. I don't have to be better than you. I just got to be better than you that day. What I'm saying to you is anybody, and this is what my message has been, it's been consistent if you've been listening to me. All season long, the message has been consistent, concise, and clear. Anybody can come out of the NFC because there are no dominant teams or quarterbacks. There's no Joe Burrows. There's no Justin Herberts. There are no Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allens on this side of the bracket. It's Jalen Hurts. It's Kirk Cousins. It's Brock Purdy. It's Daniel Jones. Tom Brady is the one guy. And he doesn't even look like Tom Brady. That could be Sam Darnold. Let that shit sink in. That could be Sam Darnold as the 4 seed. This shit is wide open, man. Dak Prescott, man, you could argue Dak Prescott is the best quarterback going into the playoffs, and he's turning this shit over twice a game. He's going into the playoffs averaging 2 turnovers every game. I've been saying this. I'm going to continue to say this. Anybody can win, which is why I want in. Unlike 2020, when I knew we weren't going to be able to do any kind of damage once we got there. But nothing beats playoff football, man. There's nothing like it. There's no adrenaline rush quite like playoff ball. Regular season is cool, a big game in the regular season. We just had one of those a couple of weeks ago on a Sunday night against the Giants. Massive game. That's fun. That shit ain't playoff ball, though. That hits different. Sign me up for one of those. And in the NFC, every game is a big one because you can end up in the Super Bowl. You just got to win one game, and then you just go from there. You can end up in the Super Bowl. Now, you may not win it depending on who comes from the other side of the bracket. But once you got confidence, hell, you get to the Super Bowl, now you got confidence. You feel like, shit, we can beat anybody. Anyway, I digress. DJ23, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, can we not have our tight ends blocking Garrett one-on-one this week and give our tackles help if they need it? Yeah. Look, for the life of me, I don't understand how we find ourselves in these positions. Did you see Micah Parsons tonight? He almost got to Joshua Dobbs on that play when he was throwing it into the end zone. I don't understand why teams do this. They had a tight end initially start out blocking him. It was a lousy attempt at a block. I don't know if he was just trying to chip him to help the running back get over there, or if he was supposed to be blocking him and Parsons just tossed him aside. And then Hassan Haskins came over, tried to get a piece of him. He ran right around him, and he got to Dobbs as he was throwing it, and he almost threw a pick. And I'm just saying to myself, why? Where's the psychological sense in that? You know this man's the game record, and you're going to throw a tight end and a running back combo at him? Please, spare me. I don't understand that stuff. But anyway, I digress. See where we are. Beast Mode writes, Carolina will pull off the upset and win the South. Very, very, very possible. I've watched Carolina over the last month, really last 6 weeks or so, but really over this last month in particular. I've watched them, sans for the Steelers game, I've watched them transform into a team that, and I said this 2 weeks ago, I said, if I'm a team looking to make the playoffs, I don't want any part of Carolina. I said this. And I said, they're going to beat Detroit. And what did they do? They didn't just beat Detroit. They stomped a mud hole in Detroit. Ran for over 3 bills on those boys. And they play defense now. Losing J.C. Horn is going to affect them. They just signed Josh Norman. That's not good. That's not good. If he's got to play meaningful snaps, that's not good. But that defense, they fly around. I saw Brian Burns holding his wrist after a play last week. Don't know the severity of that injury, but they fly around on defense. They run the football. Like, DJ Moore is a problem at receiver. Look out for the Carolina Panthers. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. I wouldn't be shocked. To me, that wouldn't be an upset to me. Those teams are equally matched. I just think the Buccaneers they're going to find a way to win. But I wouldn't be shocked if Carolina beat them. Wouldn't be shocked at all. All right. Beast mode. Right. I feel like Tom Brady coasting and is dangerous in the playoffs. They have 4 good receivers and might get Gronk back. Cowboys have a questionable run defense. Bucks are a horrible match. We'll see. Tom Brady ain't coasting, trust me. He doesn't want to miss open receivers down the field. He doesn't want to be scoring 16 and 17 points on a weekly basis. Tom Brady ain't coasting. They just not clicking. That shit is not working. Okay. I've already given the analogy of the Buccaneers and what I've been like this season with them. I'm the kid that's waiting at the window. Dad said he was coming to pick me up. Mom and dad are divorced. I live with mom. Dad said he was coming to get me this weekend, said he would be there around 5. I'm all packed up, ready to go. Every time a car passes the window, I go look and see if it's him. It's not him. He's running a little bit late. It's probably traffic. It's 5:30. Still not here. Mom, you heard from Dad? Nah, I haven't heard from your dad. All right. No worries. He said he was coming. He'll be here. 6 o'clock comes. Damn. I'm hungry, but I don't want to start eating and he shows up. So I'll just wait. Dad will get me something to eat on the way to his house. Now it's 6:30 and now you're starting to worry. Well, maybe I'll just text him and see where he is. You don't hear back from him. Now it's 7 o'clock. You're starting to think, damn, he did it to me again, didn't he? Mom walks in. Hey, son, I think you should come downstairs and eat. No, Dad said he's coming. He's going to be here. 8 o'clock rolls around. Mom's like, son, I hate this for you. I don't think your dad is coming. Why don't you just eat something, take a bath, relax, go to bed. And you're determined. Dad's coming. He said he was coming. That's how I've been with the Buccaneers all season. It's Tom Brady. They'll turn it up. Don't worry. Here's the week. Here it is, right here. They're going to Carolina. They'll figure it out. Nope, Mike Evans drops a touchdown. They get their ass kicked. Okay. You got me. Oh, here's an opportunity right here. They're going to do it this week. Okay. They got the Ravens on a Monday night. This is the one. They're going to show us this week. No, that's not the week. Okay. Here it is right here. Saints are struggling. They stink. Hell, they just got their asses kicked, did the Saints. This is the week. This is supposed to be the game they get embarrassed every year at home. Not this time. They're going to turn it up on the Saints' ass. Not exactly. Not exactly. They did win, but it was 16-3 with 3 minutes left before Brady rolled up, 2 touchdowns in 3 minutes. Hey, the Cardinals got Trace McSorley at quarterback, man. They about to do these boys. Hey, Brady about to put up 3 touchdowns. They about to get into a rhythm on these boys, right? This is the week right here. We've been waiting. Here it is. Christmas night. They about to do these boys. They needed a Brady late drive just to tie the shit up at 16 to send it to overtime. Just to scrape by a 19-6. Trace McSorley started for the Arizona Cardinals. Are you kidding me? Brady ain't coasting. Them boys stink. They may be a bad matchup for Dallas. I'm not telling you you're wrong, but Brady ain't coasting. That ain't what's happening. I'm just telling you that right now. All right. Let's see. Reese says, thoughts on white Cowboys alternate helmets. Loved them. My wife is like, this was all the fuss was about? Them shits don't even look all that. She's a Cowboys hater, though. She can't stand the Cowboys anymore. So I was like, babe, you tripping. Them shits dope. Them shits cold-blooded, boy. Them shits cold as ice. No, that shit was sweet. I've always loved those helmets. You know, when they used to wear them on Thanksgiving, almost every year, that's always been one of my favorite Cowboy combinations when they wear those uniforms. It's dope. And I mean, what more can I say? It's dope. So, let's see. Reese says, T.O. is still wanting an NFL comeback. Hear about that? Dude is as goofy as a shithouse rat. Yeah, we talked about it on the podcast briefly. I don't really have a lot to say about that because no one's going to sign Terrell Owens. One, he's 49 years old. I'm not saying he still can't do it. He's in phenomenal shape. He probably could come in the league and still play, you know. And I don't know at what kind of a level because you're 49. Like, you feel great now, and then you get hit 3 or 4 times, and your body's like, bro, you do realize we damn near 50, right? I don't know what the hell you think this is, but hell no. But he was a problem at 36. He was a problem at 30. He was a problem at 26. You think somebody's trying to deal with that headache at 49? You're right. You're right. Let's see. Reese says, some people are just nuts, Lou. It's usually talented people, too. See guys like AB and Kanye West, brilliant in some ways, but as crazy as a rainbow trout in a car wash. What you have to understand, though, Ree, is those guys have chemical imbalances. Usually, and you're right, usually the super talented people do have some kind of problem. And it's not always like a mental, like a chemical imbalance. There's trauma. Like Richard Pryor is one of the greatest comedians ever, but he had a drug problem, and that drug problem stemmed from childhood trauma. He had a crazy upbringing, you know, and you never get past some of that stuff. But the you know, a lot of what you are as a person is it's shaped and molded from your environment and your experiences. I contend, and I've said this all along, Kanye West isn't the Kanye West we know now if Donda West doesn't pass away. Okay. She was his rock of Gibraltar. She was what kept him sane, kept him rational, and she was what kept all of his, you know, inner demons and problems from coming to the forefront. She stabilized him. She's no longer here, and you've seen the end result. AB probably was always crazy, right? But it's hard to be crazy at the level that he's at now when you're broke, because a lot of his crazy stems from the attention that he garners with some of the stupid shit that he does, right? When you have these things that you're going through, the thing you can always fall back on is, I'm me. I'm AB. If you're broke and nobody knows who AB is your ego that inflated? Are you able to say, I'm AB? No. Who gives a shit about who Antonio Brown is? If you're not one of the best receivers in the last, 15 years to play in the NFL, and you're, a multimillionaire and all that. Who gives a shit if you're just Antonio Brown from Central Michigan? You get that fame, you get that stardom, it goes to your head, and all of a sudden your ego is inflated, and now there are not enough people around you to tell you, bro, you need to chill, or hey, man, you shouldn't do this or that. This is just a bunch of yes men. There's a bunch of people that they're nodding and they're smiling and they're telling you, yeah, yo, that shit is dope. You should do that. That shit's hot. And there are people that love them and have offered them advice and just tried to get them help. They don't want help. Both of those two guys that you just named need help. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Where are we at? 1:15. I think we're about to get out of here. Rich says that Chargers Raider game was lit last year. I'd be disappointed if we fall off a cliff from the season ender. That game was epic. That was the perfect exclamation point to put on a regular season last year. I can't see a way in which we match that, because even if it's Cincinnati, Baltimore, like, you're not getting a ton of points in Cincinnati, Baltimore. It'd be just like the Sunday night game from earlier when those two teams played, where I think it was 19-17. It'd be something along those lines. Bengals offensively are much better than they were when the two teams played the first time, but doesn't change the fact that it's family business and it'd be low scoring. Where that Raiders-Chargers game was like, what did it end up being, like 30-something to 30-something or 30-something to 20-something. And we went to overtime, I think, in that game, if I'm not mistaken. No, we were going to go to overtime. No, we weren't. We were in overtime because Herbert had that crazy drive to send it to overtime. And we were going to have a tie. And your boy, Brandon Staley, decided he wanted to call timeout. And the Raiders was like, oh, you can call timeout. All right, we about to beat your ass then. So I don't see how we can match that. I don't want to see Jags and Titans. I'd prefer not to, but that may be what we get. May not be up to us. John Wynn. I just saw that you said you're new to the channel. Louie T Live is the hashtag. I'll let you slide this time. It says, I like Titans' new quarterback, Josh Dobbs. I thought he was better than Seattle's Geno Smith. I feel like Josh Dobbs can be MVP this year because of Ryan Tannehill's injury. Okay, I'm just going to leave that comment alone. Abel Ambrosio writes, imagine beating the Vikings in the first round and playing Philly in the second round, Carson revenge game, and get a dub. What a story it would be. Well, remember, that was supposed to be how the regular season went. Remember, we played Minnesota in week 9, and then we were supposed to go to Philly in week 10. That was supposed to be part of the Carson Wentz revenge tour that we were supposed to be on this season. But he got injured in the Bears game. So wouldn't it be ironic if we went back to the schedule and did it in that order? Minnesota in wild card weekend, and then back to the scene of the crime in Philadelphia, and Wentz exacts a measure of revenge. And revenge is a dish best served cold, and it doesn't get more cold-blooded than going into Philadelphia in a playoff game. It reminds me of the body bag game where they destroyed us, laid out so many players. Brian Mitchell had to finish the game at quarterback, talking all that shit. And then Washington goes into Philadelphia, into the vet in the playoffs that year, and beats Buddy Ryan and the Philadelphia Eagles, and Ryan gets fired after that game. Buddy Ryan gets fired after that game, and they hire Richie Kotite. Doesn't get much better than that. Playoff ball is where shit happens. Rivalries are established in playoff ball. Memories are created and legends are created in playoff ball. Like, you'll never forget Frank Reich. Not because he was the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, but because he authored one of the greatest comebacks in NFL history, and it happened to be a playoff game. You'll never forget David Tyree. Why? Not because he was a great NFL wide receiver. He wasn't even a solid NFL wide receiver. He's more of a special teamer. But you'll never forget the helmet catch. Legends are created in the playoffs. Carson Wentz could etch his name in that lore if he were to go back to the scene of the crime and pull off one of the biggest criminal. That would be one of the biggest criminal acts we've seen in quite some time. But again, that's looking way too far into the future, because Carson Wentz's career as a starter could be over after Sunday. I mean, you're going all the way into a playoff game, and then what you can do in the divisional round. We may not even make it out of week 17. Okay. The irony there is amazing. I digress. Anyway. All right. I think I'm going to get out of here now. Yeah, we hit our mark. I see a whole bunch of hashtags, but let me get out of here. I'll just knock these out real quick. John Wynn says, in my opinion, I feel like Broncos QB Russell Wilson will never be benched after the embarrassing loss to the LA Rams last week. But you saw his teammates came to his defense this week, because he's been, obviously heavily scrutinized after that loss and the coach getting fired. Cesar Mayo writes, if you could have a player from each of our NFC East rivals, who would you scoop? Wow. That is a great question. I don't know. I'd have to give that some serious thought. I know for a fact I'd take Darius Slay from the Eagles. I feel pretty confident about that. Now, he's getting up there in age, but I feel pretty confident about that. Maybe it'd be Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. I really love his game. It'd be one of those two, I think. I take Michael Parsons off of Dallas without question. And I know we got shit. They don't look like Michael Parsons. So I take Parsons off of the Cowboys roster. Maybe I should take one of the Eagles' offensive linemen. I probably should take like Jordan Mailata or something like that. Probably instead of a corner. I just know we need a corner really badly, and none of the other teams' corners really excite me. I'd probably just take should take Jordan Mailata at left tackle, though, from the Eagles, and take Michael Parsons from the Cowboys. The Giants would be tough because there's not a lot of stuff there that I would actually want. Their two defensive tackles are really good, but I like my guys. I don't really need to do that. They don't have any linebackers that interest me, which we need. I guess I could take, Andrew Thomas at tackle. I don't really know if I need to do that. If I took Jordan Mailata, Saquon's cool, but I'm not interested. I don't know. They don't really have anything that moves the needle for me per se that I'd be dying to get my hands on. Yeah, I don't really know. I don't really know who I would take off the Giants roster. I'm pretty sure I could find something. Anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on the final installment of Thursday Night Football Overtime. Cowboys victorious over the Tennessee Titans 27-13. Cowboys run their record to 12-4. Apply pressure, even though I don't think it's a ton. They still apply pressure to the Philadelphia Eagles, forcing the Eagles to have to win. How big was that loss to Jacksonville all of a sudden? Had they not done that, they would be within striking distance of the Eagles. And all they would need is just one more loss from the Eagles. They would force the Eagles to have to play out the string. Instead, Philadelphia wins on Sunday, which they will, against New Orleans. They will clinch the NFC East and the number 1 overall seed in the conference. But Dallas, 12 wins, back-to-back seasons for the first time since 94-95. They're playing good football. You know, despite the turnovers, this is a dangerous team. So, Titans, on the other hand, not so much. Losers of 4 straight. Is it 4 straight? Yeah, they were 7-5 at one point. Losers of 4 straight. And Tannehill's done for the season, just had surgery. No Derrick Henry tonight. He'll be back next week. They started Joshua Dobbs, who was just added to this roster 4 days ago. So he's gonna start in week number 18 in winner takes all game versus Jacksonville on the road. He might be able to get it done too. I wouldn't discount him. I don't think he's gonna get it done, but he gives him a better shot than Malik Willis, that's for sure. Anyway, I digress. You guys have a good one. Take care. I'll see you on Friday if you're a Washington fan for the last installment of Commanders Nightly News for the week. I'll see you for Sunday Night Football. More likely than not. I will be out of the office, though, so I don't really know what the schedule is going to look like. I can't even assure you that I'll be available for, all of that. But maybe I will, maybe I won't. But you'll definitely see me for the conclusion of the Commanders and Browns game. That is for certain. So with that said, you guys enjoy the rest of your evening. Take care. And as always, God bless. Good night. And Happy New Year to all of you. I'll say this now, and I may do a podcast for you guys tomorrow. May not. Celebrate and enjoy the new year responsibly. Take care.
LouieTeeNetwork.